called The Book of the Way. It's written by Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu. And yeah, he's a great writer. We don't really know if he really wrote it, but it doesn't matter. The book is just as good either way. It's the foundation of Daoism, which is, yeah, some similar to how the Bible is the foundation of Christianity. And it's really short. It's really well written, and it's yeah. I think it's. I would say that it's much more, even though the Bible and the Quran and yeah, different spiritual texts can be used today for sure, and they are. But this one is more modern, I would say. I think it would speak more to modern audience and even people who are not even religious, like PewDiePie, for example, the famous YouTuber. He read this in a live stream, which is, I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty insane. Written thousands of years ago, and he's not even spiritual, as far as I know, anyway. And he writes, he didn't write it, he read from it in the live stream on the then, sort of biggest YouTube channel in the world. Kind of crazy how he's reading that to people who play Minecraft and, watch his videos. He's reading Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Way, and he finds it fascinating. He's into some, like stoicism and things like that, and apparently also Daoism. And that is because it is very modern. Even though it is, yeah, maybe not totally apparent every sentence, but still very, very relevant today, which is, yeah, a testament to how good it is. I'm just gonna do a few lines from it, read a few paragraphs. It is structured in, I think, I don't think this is the original structuring, but later it has they done it in, I think, like 83 sort of pages, or yeah, I don't know what you call it, but sort of pages with just a few paragraphs on each page. So it's not like 83 whole pages of text. It's 83, pages with 3, 4, 5 small paragraphs, or even just a sentence. So it's a really easy read too, compared to the Bible and many other texts. It's easy, it's to the point, it's wonderful, it's loving, it's gracious, it's this is it. I was gonna say this is the, but then, yeah. Okay, so it starts out with, this is a translation by Stephen something, which I find to be the best one. I can put it in the description below the video. So it starts out with the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So the Tao is sort of like the ineffable, the void, the great absolute, the thing that cannot be named. So it can't be named, it can't be told, because it is beyond words. This is not from the from the Tao Te Ching, but and yeah, I think I said it, maybe, I don't know. Tao Te Ching is the name, and it's often loosely translated into the Book of the Way. And it says that the Tao and the Tao is, I mean, it's not the equivalent of God, because God has so many meanings, but God in the sense of what some Christian mystics call Godhead. I would say it's similar to that, or maybe similar to what some Buddhists call emptiness. Again, we can't really say what it is, but it's something, the cloud of unknowing in Christian mysticism. So something that is beyond words, beyond thinking even. We cannot even understand it. We can definitely not name it. They call it the Tao, though. So we do give it a name, but if it can be told, this is also why they have this thing in Christian mysticism. which is called the apophatic theory or theology, sorry, apophatic theology, which is that you come to what is true via negativa, through negatives, through saying what it isn't. That is the only thing you could say, and they said it in the context of knowing God. You can only say what God isn't. So it's not, he's not this, he's not that, he's not it. And this is also similar-ish, I would say, to that. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. So it is beyond words, it is beyond thinking, it's beyond mind, it's beyond the human human ability to understand anything. We can't understand it. So it cannot be told, it cannot really be named, but we call it a Tao. Okay, so it continues here with the unnameable is eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Okay, let me read that again so I understand it. And the unnameable is eternally real. So that is referring to probably the Tao, the unnamed, and then they said before that the name that can be named is not the eternal name, and the unnameable. So, and this is the thing, of course, if you're into non-duality, which many people who are into spiritual stuff on the internet is, like Rupert Spira and Adyashanti and yeah, some of those people, you'd be, yeah, I'd understand if you were wondering, you know, the unnameable is the eternal. This sounds dualistic in a way, so because all words are, that is the thing, and it tend to make a distinction between form and emptiness almost. So I mentioned the idea of emptiness, which is a concept within Buddhism, which yeah, it's quite profound. Here we say that. Here they are saying that the name that can be named is not the eternal name, and the unnameable is the eternally real. So, in a sense, everything is one. Of course, in a sense, in non-duality, we can't even say anything about anything. The apophatic theology, or via negativa, or neti neti, as Nagarjuna called it, or his doctrine of not this, not that, not this, not it, also via negativa, we come to basically not being able to say anything. But even that is self-contradictory. We can't even say that, and not even that, and not even that. So it's sort of like fractals all the way down. We can't really, yeah. So we might as well speak in dualistic terms, because what else are we going to do? I don't know if that made any sense, but unnameable is the eternally real, is what the Lao Tzu says further on, and naming is the origin of all particular things. So this is in a way, at least it could be interpreted as saying that when we start to name things, we pull them out of beingness in a way, and we start doing this dualistic play with words, and you know, we create duality in our own minds. We separate things from each other. We separate the clouds from the sky, for example, even though they are in a way just one experience, of course. In a dream at night, I like that metaphor. In a dream at night, we see clouds in the sky, and we can do those. We can start naming things there too. We can name the clouds, we can name the sky, we can name people, we can name houses. And in the end, though, it's just a projection of our own minds. This is also what I like about the metaphor is that most people, you don't have to believe in anything. You don't even have to be spiritual, but you would be, you would probably agree that it's just a projection of your own mind. Most people believe that, yeah, the brain creates the dream at night, and yeah, we are the only ones in the dream, and that's just it's just one experience. We experience it as if we are standing somewhere and looking at something, but in reality, we would say it's just a dream created in your own mind. There's really nothing here nor there. It's just a virtual reality, shall we say? It's just the matrix or something like that. And the truth is that it's just one experience or one projection of your mind, nothing else. But when we start naming things, when we believe in those name and believe in that naming, believe in those distinctions that we make, we create duality and we relate to it in that way, and it becomes something, I wouldn't say totally unreal, but it's different from having the intuition or direct experience that everything is one thing. Okay, so we continue. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. This is really simple, I would say, or compared to some other things, that when you're free from desire, desire is the foundation for many religions and Buddhism, not the least, saying that it is the root of all evil, basically. When we desire things, we go for it and we start suffering. We suffer just by desiring, basically, because we want something to be different than it is. We want something we don't have. And yeah, that's the two fundamental, what do you say, actions that create suffering for us humans are grasping and aversion. So, according to Buddhism, and desire is synonymous with grasping. We want something, but they say here, when we are free from it, when we are free from desire, and to be free from desire, we tend to need to be either in deep dreamless sleep or we need to be awake in some way. Or so that is to be aware of the Tao or the mystery. If we are aware of the mystery, and we are, for some people it's a change of identity. We in spiritual circles we speak a lot about ego death and the end of the ego, the end of the narrative self, the self-referential thoughts that we have. When they end, when they go into nirvana, when they go into cessation, the you that you used to be tends to sort of melt away. And for some people it can melt away, and there and there is another sort of identity with a, like the what in Hinduism is called the big self or the large self compared to the small self, or just experiencing the natural world, even, or emptiness, or the absolute, or whatever you want to call it, just, or experiencing no mind, no self, and that is your experience instead. And in that, even if desire is there, it is not your desire, because the identification with those thoughts have evaporated, or they have gone into cessation. And then we realize the mystery, as they say. It is needed to realize the mystery. I imagine, you can have glimpses, of course, of that mystery, even though the desire, but maybe for that split second, if it's just a split second intuition or opening of the mystery, then at that very moment, desire is not there. And then it subsides, the experience of the mystery, and the desire for it is back. Okay, caught in desire, you see only manifestations. When we are caught in those desires of wanting, grasping, and those things, we only see the phenomenal world. We only see cars, mountains, the other people, and we are just driven by our evolutionary psychological needs and desires. And that is the only thing that we see in the exterior world. We're not aware of this mystery that the mystical traditions speak about, which that the Tao, we aren't aware of the Tao or emptiness or the absolute or the big self or the Godhead or whatever you want to call it. So getting rid of desire is important here in the Tao too, and this is also a reason that I enjoy it, because it's so it ties into these other traditions too. Of course, they do. All these mystical traditions are actually very similar. They are much more similar, I would say, than the actual religions or the exoteric or outer sort of versions of those religions. They are often at odds with each other, and as you may know. But when you look at the mystical writings, if it's Meister Eckhart in Christian mysticism, or the Sufi master Rumi within Islam, or some within Kabbala, or here the Daoism, or we mentioned Buddhism, like a Zen master in Zen Buddhism, or Advaita Vedanta master, or someone like Ramana Maharishi or Nisargadatta Maharaj, they all tend to agree to a shockingly similar, in a very similar way, I would say. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And it's also interesting that they came to these realizations way before, if you go back in time, even before these traditions really had much overlap or knowing about each other. There seems to have been these insights, which are, that is the mystical way of doing it, which is going into direct experience. It is not theory, it is not theology. Theology and theory could, of course, be about direct experience too, but this is really not about understanding things cognitively. They are describing, a way, a practical way, and real, true experiences which you can experience yourself. It's not about belief or anything like that. The Buddha also made it like very clear. Don't believe in what I say, but if you want, try it out. Try it out, and the way you do it usually is through meditation and different types of spiritual practices to sort of try to get those experiences for yourself, to desire it and get it. Yet mystery and manifestations, this is from the book again, yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Here we see again that, or not again, but I mentioned before that we had this distinction between form and emptiness. This is often spoken about in the Buddhist tradition, in the Heart Sutra, for example. They speak about form and emptiness and form, and they say basically, or explicitly, that is the same thing. It is the same thing. Here the Tao says that mystery and manifestations, mystery is, I would say at least, maybe it's not a one-to-one relationship, but it's darn close. So mystery, if we want to call it formlessness or emptiness, and manifestation is form, phenomena. They say that, Lao Tzu says, or the Book of the Way says, that it arises from the same source. This source is called darkness. Maybe we could call it the absolute. So we have if it were a triangle, we would have the absolute and at the top of the triangle, and then in the two corners we would have form and formlessness, or mystery and manifestation in reverse order. And this source is called darkness. It's quite poetic, and I think Adyashanti mentioned him before as a non-dual teacher. I don't think he wants to call himself that anymore, but he used to be. he wrote this book, the Dazzling Darkness, or did it? I'm not sure. dancing, Emptiness Dancing. It was, I think. I think it was someone else who wrote about the dazzling darkness. It's sort of a darkness that it's not just darkness. It's like something else. Something that cannot be named really. Darkness within darkness. Here we see almost what I mentioned before with the fractals. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding, and it's in a way a non-understanding. It's beyond understanding. It's more like an intuition, or more like a realization of something that you don't really understand. But what else are we going to call it? They call it prajna sometimes within Buddhism, another type of understanding, which isn't. Maybe we could call it wisdom. Sort of wisdom. Darkness within darkness. It's turtles all the way down. It's fractals all the way down. It's darkness, dream within a dream. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to continue. Look at the next page here. So this might have seemed long, but it was only, what was it, a couple of paragraphs, right? Can't turn back the page for some reason. Okay. Yeah, it was only a couple of paragraphs. And now we're at page 2, and it goes like this. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. This is, again, we have touched on it already, about dualism, dualistic thinking. We cannot have good without bad. We can't have hard without soft. We cannot have ugly without beautiful, and also not good without bad. Maybe I said I didn't start up with that. This is also pretty straightforward, I think. Still, it's also something that speaks to this non-dual. Non-dual is a very it have become really popular, I think, on YouTube and on the internet. For good or bad, I don't know. But this is, in a way, speaking to that. Speaking about that, I remember the American philosopher and mystic Ken Wilber. He wrote a book called No Boundary, which is just about that, and he speaks to this in a very cogent and beautiful way, I think, in that book. It's a really easy read, and I would recommend it. I remember reading it. It was a ton of years ago now, so I'm not sure how I would feel reading it again. But it's it's about non-duality, basically, which these mystical traditions are speaking about. They say it explicitly. Okay, and this is a version of it. This is an example of it. Being and non-being create each other. It goes on to say, being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Yeah, so this is quite poetic too, I think. Being and non-being create each other. I'm reminded of the line in the Heart Sutra, which I mentioned before, which basically says that neither being nor non-being, neither up nor down, neither coming nor going. At least that is in one translation. So we can say they are all dependent. They create each other. You know, when we create duality, it really, how do you say? When we create non-duality, non-duality creates itself. I don't know if that makes any sense. If we say high, low, we cannot, like they said before, they're saying it much better than I am. It is just, how do you say? Yeah, it's obvious, right? We cannot have something without its opposite. When people says, how come there's so much, why don't we only have like good things in the world? If there's a God, shouldn't only like good things happen, or godly things even? But at least in this world, there would be nothing here if we only had good things. Because we cannot have only good things. Good only makes sense if we have something bad. Yeah, we can't have one without the other. That is, I think that's one of the best answers to why there is suffering in the world. Because of duality, which is created in our own minds, basically. When we don't think, when we're in deep dreamless sleep, or when we are awake, there isn't much suffering at all. There may be pain, but no suffering. So the idea of suffering in itself is just a made-up thought. It's not real. And yeah, we wouldn't even be able to speak about not having suffering unless there were suffering. And the opposite is also true. They depend on each other, like they say here. High and low depend on each other. Being and non-being create each other. So in the end, like the Heart Sutra says, all these dualistic ideas or this dualism is only in the mind, or it's not ultimately true. That is what people realize through awakening or non-dual awakening, or however we want to think about it. You realize that it's just one thing, and it's beyond words. It's the Tao. The Tao. It's beyond. It's like they say in the Heart Sutra. It's gone way beyond gatti gatti paragatti parasangati bodhisvaha. Beyond, even more beyond awakening. Oh, how wonderful. So it's just going beyond. We can't even say anything about it. It's the apophatic theology. It's Nisargadatta Maharaj. No, sorry. Can't remember his name. Nisargadatta Maharaj. What is that? Yeah, anyway. Okay, so we continue. Therefore, the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. She has but doesn't possess. Acts but doesn't expect. When her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. I really love this paragraph. It's just so beautifully written, and yeah, I just noticed that it affects me somehow when I read it, especially the end there. So therefore the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything, because everything is dualistic, everything you do. And this master has gone beyond duality. This master have realized what is the heart of the Heart Sutra, and is just living like a tree is just being, or a wind is just blowing, or the sun is just shining. It's not really, there's no one there. That's not there's not a dualistic mind there thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to help this people to realize awakening, or whatever it is you would be thinking. It's just the doing. It's just being in flow. It's just being in the zone. It's just acts without doing anything, because there's no one doing anything, and teaches without saying anything. Yeah. So probably saying things and probably doing things, looking at it from the outside, but from the inside, nothing is happening. There's nothing happening. Just as in a dream, we would say too, nothing is really happening. It's just a projection. It's just things are happening, but in the same way, nothing is happening. It's both, neither, or both and neither, or something else. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. So there's no grasping, there's no aversion, there's no desire, and yeah, just love, and not even that. Maybe that is of course still dualistic. It's hard to say. Just Tao, But even saying that would be compared to not the Tao. We run into these things or these because the mind, the only way we can convey things verbally is through, and this is why Ramana Maharishi, for example, mostly taught in silence, I think, because the ultimate teaching is basically silence. And then again, speaking is the same thing. We just run around in circle. It's just fractals. It's just nothing to really understand in the end. But doing these practices, reading these books and meditating and doing practices like that seems to help help people along to get to that realization, which isn't a realization in a way. It's just nothing. But yeah. Anyway, checks but doesn't possess, acts but doesn't expect. This is also in a similar vein. When her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. I think that's really, it really affects me. I get this intuitive, almost like goosebumps. Yeah, that's the word. Can't even gonna try to explain it. So when her work is done, she forgets it. So there's no one there. No one's there to take credit for it. If we want to like conceptualize it some way, we would say that maybe the ego. There's no ego there. There's no one there. It's just acting just like the sun isn't isn't feeling being narcissistic, for example. The sun is just doing its thing. And then I said, "That's it. That is why it lasts forever." This is beyond thinking to me. I mean, I don't even want to conceptualize it more. Some things are better. I think it could be me that is away from me to not have to admit to being stupid, but yeah, it's something that goes beyond that. This last sentence for me, or this last that is why it lasts forever. So because no one is doing it, because no one is thinking about it, nothing happened, and that's why it lasts forever. Nothing even happened. And yeah, if something happens, it will have come and gone, but nothing happens. Nothing happened. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna stop here. I'll put the book. It's free. It's it's even, is it Stephen Mitchell? I can't remember his name. What is it? Stephen Mitchell. Yeah, that's his name. He reads it and he wrote it. And I think this is him reading it too on YouTube. I don't think he has posted it. Someone has posted it, but it is Stephen reading it, and it's a great read. I think this is it's a good read. So you can either listen to it or read it or do both. So I put those both in the description. Hopefully, if I remember. Okay, that was it for today. Thank you, and